Hi, I'm Courtney Sale. I'm the Nancy L. Donahue Artistic Director at MRT, and I am super happy to be joined by my colleague and my friend and an artist I really admire and respect, the wonderful Eleanor Burgess, who MRT audiences know from Chill a couple seasons ago. But Eleanor, enjoy you work all over the world and are so prolific and had the great fortune of getting to know you at Contemporary American Theater Festival when you were doing the Niceties. And we were rehearsing next door to each other.
Yeah, and we were living in a tiny town in West Virginia together.
It was fun. So Eleanor, because you've had the experience at MRT, like we are so focused on new work. And I think that sometimes there's a mythology or some thinking about that a writer goes away and crafts a play all on their own and it comes out fully baked. And, I think you and I both know the labor and love and attention and people. And so I wondered if you would maybe talk a little bit about that rhythm and process for you.
Yeah, I think a lot about the fact that plays are so incredibly different from novels. Like, I think novels are like the solitary person goes off and, and they have editors and readers and wonderful people, but plays, as we know, aren't meant to be read. They're meant to be performed. And at some point for me, usually after the first draft, like the first draft often is, although not always, it varies from play to play. The first draft might be me alone in my pajamas on too much coffee, just typing furiously or scribbling in a notebook. But then as soon as a play exists, and sometimes even earlier, I've had first drafts that come out of like improvisational exercises with actors where we get together. I have a play I'm working on right now, actually, that grew out of conversations. I knew that I wanted to, it's about religion and God, and I knew I wanted a lot of voices, and I got a bunch of friends together with like free coffee and bagels and asked them questions and recorded their answers, and that became Genesis the play. So sometimes even from its earliest moments, my new plays are collaborative, but even when they are that solitary, writer holed up at a writer's retreat, as soon as they exist and you have this first draft, they're meant to be performed and you want to know how it sounds performed. So for me, the first step is always, can I hear it? And can I hear it with actors who are gonna throw themselves into it and make it alive and make it as close as possible to like what the audience would get to see? And can I hear it in a room with collaborators I trust who are going, because plays aren't for me in the end. Like, it's not a thing I want to get off my chest. It's for an audience. It's, an experience I want people to have together. And so how I think it's playing is useless. It's all about what effect is it having on other people. So as soon as possible, I want to hear it with other people and sit down and say, like, well, how did that affect you? Which moments really popped? Which moments confused you? Which moments upset you? What would you say it was a play about? What did you get out of this experience? And those very early collaborative germs often, germs are not like the early collaborative seeds. I meant like wheat germ.
Yeah.
The early collaborative seeds, those early collaborative seeds, become the second draft and the third draft. And usually for me, then, I go back off on my own for the second draft, and again, like solitary, monkey at a typewriter. After the second draft, I usually like to only rewrite in conversation with actors and an audience. Because I think at that point, hopefully, you have written something that can only be performed. That, sure, you can read it and you'll get some speeches, but that without the flesh and blood actors, it's missing its heart. And without an audience often, I think that, unlike film, unlike television, if you filmed two actors, the best actors in the world doing a play, you don't have the play, because a play is written for the audience to be part of that experience. And I often, I've been lucky with both Chill and the Niceties and an earlier play, Start Down, to do a ton of my final polishing of the play in production with an audience. With Chill, I cut 11 pages between first preview and opening night, and I added like 3 of the best lines and 3 of the best jokes, because an audience teaches you, are people laughing? Are people siding with the character? Are they fidgeting during a particular moment because that moment's going on too long? Are they leaning in? Are they gasping? You know, are you getting across? Are people having an experience together emotionally? And so for me, I usually wait to finish a play until I can do so in production, because an audience is a central part of writing a play to me, because an audience is a central part of what a play is.
I think something you're saying, like the reminder of like a play that actually has many starts, right? Like the start that you have with it, and then the start you have with some early collaborators, and then the start with the audience. And I want to like just jam on for a second. I love the thing that you said about your language about, and then the play exists. and when you are in that moment before it's shared out, I'm wondering, do you know what you're capable of when you're writing a play?
That's funny. That's a really interesting way of putting it. There's an Annie Dillard quotation, and she didn't write plays, she created nonfiction, but she talks about that like the reason writers keep writing is because they're constantly like, there's the thing in their head, the sort of platonic ideal of what they want to accomplish, and everything falls somewhere short of that. So you like get back on the horse and try again. I think that when you're writing the first draft of a play, there's what you think maybe you want it to be, and that's different from what it is. And a lot of times what it is better. Like what you want it to be. It's sort of the way, you know, like when you're a teenager and you picture your ideal mate, you know, and you're like, oh, he'll have like floppy 90s Jared Leto hair, and he'll be like a European Viscount, and like he'll like, you know, be a lumberjack too. And it's, none of that is what you should actually be with. Like, you know, none of those are and then you actually meet a person that you want to spend, you know, a big chunk of your life with, and they're completely different than what you thought, and they're better than what you thought, because they're real and challenge you in ways that you didn't want to be challenged. Who wants to be challenged? Everyone wants to be agreed with. And I think that the same thing happens with a play. I have in my head this glitzy version of what it is, and that's not real. It's completely imaginary, and it's not an experience anyone can have. And then a part of where bringing in collaborators becomes so wonderful is then you start to realize, well, what do we have? Oh, we have something different. And a lot of times a play turns out to be about something different than I thought it was going to be about. Like I go in thinking, I'm going to talk about this, you know, with the Niceties. I thought I was writing a play that was about race, and it is, but it also is a play about generations. It's a play about mother-daughter in a way. And you can't know that until you hear it out loud and see that second half that your actors and your collaborators bring.
Let's talk about audiences for a second, and like the environment and container in which new work is made. And you know, one of the ways I want to like think about this question is like, you know, what are the like, I'm like, if I placed an ad for the perfect new work audience, you know, what's the like, what would be the recruiting language? But both from maybe like an aspirational place, but also like an experiential place that you've had.
That's so interesting, because I'm not positive that I believe in the concept of a new play audience, because what I always say to myself when I'm writing is I say that I would love to write a play where if you kidnapped 200 Americans who were statistically representative of the American population, and you forced them to watch the play, a majority of them would leave and be like, thank you for kidnapping me. Like, that was worth my time. And that people who don't think they're theater people would love it. I always love doing high school matinees. I love new theater audiences. I mean, I love recurring audiences too. They're wonderful. But I think that to some degree, part of what's awesome about doing new plays instead of doing like Ibsen and Shakespeare is that they are for everyone. You don't have to already know. I can't remember who, somebody in the American theater talked about when you program like Ibsen, somebody in the audience got their PhD on Ibsen, and somebody in the audience remembers seeing that Broadway production in 1988 where, you know, so-and-so did it, and somebody has never heard of Ibsen, and the audience is inherently unequal. And when you do a new play, everyone's new. Everyone sits down together and has the same experience. No one knows the joke that's coming. No one knows the twist that's coming. And so to some degree, I don't know if I believe that there's such a thing as a new play audience. But I think that what makes a great new play audience is people who are up for that. People who don't need to know in advance what they're signing up for. People who want to have room in their life for, if I pay attention, if I give you a night, will you make me think? Will you surprise me? Will you challenge me? Will you make me feel? And people who are just up for that, for saying like, I'd like there to be one night every month when I don't know what I'm getting. And I want to not know what I'm getting. And for me, that's what I feel when I go to the theater, is that I know, you know, every other part of my life, like I know what I'm going to experience, I'm going to get talking to my friends, and I know what experience I'm going to get on a particular website or with a particular TV show. And a play is a chance to experience the world in a fresh way. And I think that a new play audience is people who want that and are up for that and are willing to go where that takes them. And sometimes it might make you mad, and sometimes it might make you sad, and sometimes it might make you laugh your butt off, and sometimes it might make you think about something you've never thought about before. And just to be up for that, like, and to keep coming back and keep saying, yeah, surprise me again, that's the dream audience, I think. And I felt like I had that experience at MRT, which was really lucky. I felt as if it didn't matter that I was produced at MRT before I had had a production in New York, before I had had a production at, you know, sort of, I think MRT was the biggest venue I'd worked at. And I felt like the audience was just there for the play and not there for, well, had the New York Times said anything about it or had it won any prizes. They're like, what's up tonight? Yeah. And that was really a privilege for a playwright starting out in their career to have an audience just say, what do you have for us tonight?
The leaps of faith both the writer and the audience have to take, and like when you've had those experiences, or you know, like I'm just trying to like language that a little bit, because I think we kind of like, you know, for audiences, I think there's like a real like modesty and demureness about like, oh, like you know, I like let the artists do their thing, but they're also like they're really going on an adventure, and they're really like this like you were saying, like the leveling knowledge in a new work that we're just like, we're all here for something, we don't know what's going to happen.
I think it's sort of it's giving yourself over to a lack of control. Excuse me. The less scary way of saying that is along for the ride, I guess, like someone else is in the car. And I feel like when you're doing well with a new draft, that's how it feels. Like, you know, like Jesus take the wheel kind of level, you know, it feels like muses take the wheel. Like, and I think part of where the idea of muses comes from is that when a draft is going really well, you feel like you sit down at your desk and you listen, and your characters talk to you, and the story talks to you, and it appears in your head, and you didn't do anything to earn that. You didn't, you know, you're not coming up with a cool speech or a cool plot twist. It arrives, and like your job as a writer is just to keep the top of your brain open so that when it arrives it can get in there, and to like put your butt in your desk so that when it arrives your fingers are near your keyboard. And I think that you know, giving yourself over to an experience where you're not in control and you're also not responsible for it. Like you can let the waves hit you, and you can it's almost surfing. Again, it takes you where it's going to take you, is such a freeing experience for me as someone who's, you know, I think we're all in this day and age clenched so tightly, trying so hard to control a very uncontrollable universe, and trying so hard to be so productive and so, you know, organized and so actualized and so like wellnessy, and you know, oh, I do my meditation every morning and I do my yoga every night, and like every single bit I do, like I have all these like nutritional snacks for my children, and like, you know, I have all these I have all these Emmy award-winning TV programs I have to watch. Like there's so much duty and effort, and there's something very zen about writing, where you're like, I'm going to let it take me where it takes me. And I don't know whether this will have been a productive hour or not. I might write down a speech and I might use it today, and I might use it in a year, and I might use it never. And it will still have been a good experience to just let it take me, let it get out. And I think that the idea of catharsis is sort of like that. It's like, I'm not telling you you're going to see this play and then you'll know what you need to know in a month. I'm telling you, like, let the feelings out, let them rip through you, stop clenching, stop trying, spend an evening letting yourself feel what you're gonna feel, and letting yourself process what you are gonna process, and that will be restorative. You'll get the feelings out. I mean, that's the whole idea of catharsis. It's the whole idea of theater is I think we do bottle our feelings up so much, and we try to control them, or we try to suppress them, or we try to manage and process them, and to just, you know, break the dam and feel things and experience things. And because it's theater, it doesn't have consequences in your personal life. It's someone else's story. It's someone else's tragedy. It's someone else's struggle, but you get to finally release those feelings and finally be not putting an effort and not trying to be perfect. I think that that's incredibly healing and human in a way that I think we spend so much of our time trying not to be human, like trying to not have unruly emotions and trying to not have, you know, rage and quirks and flaws and fears, and trying to turn ourselves into little machines that do everything perfectly. And I think that theater is a place to like celebrate glory and mess and emotion together. And, yeah.
I love the way you think. I love your writing. This is
So much.
I want to so this is the last question. We're in a moment of instinct. Like we're in a time of instinct. We're in a time where like I love like celebrate mess, right? Like that's what we have right now. And I'm wondering just like, what are the things feeding your present moment and your instincts right now?
Oh, that's really interesting. Right now, I think, and it has to do with the project that I was working on before our current moment, but I'm returning to a lot of like ancient truths. I'm working on this sort of more religious play, and I've been rereading the Bible and rereading parts of the Talmud. And I think, I promised that I wouldn't mention the virus. I'm going to mention the virus, but I think part of our clenching is I think we spend a lot of time in denial of really ancient things. I mean, I also had a baby a year ago, and I think we spend so much time in denial of our bodies' in denial of our mortality, in denial of, you know, the profound psychological ties of family. Like we spend so much time trying to pretend that we're perfect workers or perfect, you know, consumers, or, you know, the rush to like get back to your pre-baby body, and the rush to, you know, make every single day productive. I think I've been for a lot of the last year sort of exploring really ancient truths about, like, we come from older generations, we come from ancestors, we have descendants, we are on Earth for a limited period of time, we are in a controlling and controlled relationship with nature. You know, I've been rereading the Old Testament a lot, and these really like messed up weird relationships that, like, they don't pretend people are perfect. You know, you read Cain and Abel, and you read, like, you know, Noah's relationship with his sons Abraham and Isaac. Like, you're like, these people are weird and messed up. And I've been returning to that a lot. And I think of Annie Dillard too, and she writes about how, like, nature is so much weirder than we think it is. Spend 5 minutes in nature and you'll see something incredibly bizarre and terrifying and weird and beautiful. I guess I've been thinking about, like, look up and look down, and, like, just stop looking at whatever you were looking at. You know, look somewhere else. Look up is, I think that's like some slogan from some TV ad, so I don't want to have that be look up, look down,
parting words.
You know, trying to see the big picture more. And it is interesting having a kid and sort of seeing myself in this chain of human endeavor that stretches back so far, and suddenly seeing myself having things in common. I've also, besides the religion play, have a play about cavemen, and, like, reading about hunter-gatherers and seeing myself in them has been, that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Who knows if anyone else is.
Yeah. God, I love it. Well, I mean, I have to say, like, we did the Jared Leto, Annie Dillard, Old Testament. I mean, yeah!
References are all over the place.
Eleanor, I'm really grateful to you, sharing time with us and, like, sharing process with us. And I'm, like, sending you huge love and congratulations both on your incredible work and your incredible family. And we're gonna be eager to get you back to MRT. And just thanks for sharing time with us.
Thanks for the conversation. It's a bright spot. It really is. It's lovely to see you and talk to you and get to talk about these things. So be well.
Thanks.
For you and MRT, and we're gonna get through this.